Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, as always, we've got Jameson Maxwell and Ty Lee, and we are here to talk about the OU spring game, a game that, look, first of all, let's not get out of hand. It's just a scrimmage. You don't want to make too much overreactions, but also I think it's very clear OU's winning the national championship this year, guys. What do you think?
With what offense? I mean, come on. That offense got bailed out. All of a sudden, we look up in the fourth quarter, it's a tie game, and I'm like, what? Did they just stop giving the defense points? And they did. Yeah, defense are getting PBUs and sacks, and man, they had to legitimately do something that they do for like little kindergartners to help even up the score for the offense. So I will overreact a little bit.
Yeah. The tampering, whatever term you want to use, it didn't stop there. We'll dive into it when we dive into certain players. It seemed like perhaps there was a certain quarterback who the receivers have been instructed to just drop his passes to ruin his stat line to make the incumbent look a little bit better. Dive into that as we get into it, because there was a certain guy who there just seemed to be a lot of great passes that were just dropped, a game-winning one perhaps even that was stolen. So
I love it. We're going full on into Gabriel Gate.
I mean, we knew that was going to happen, Bobby. As soon as that first couple drives of Dylan Gabriel just doing nothing and throwing an interception, I go, uh-oh. This podcast is going to be really fun with Ty.
Well, and then that Jackson Arnold touchdown run, that just 60-yard run that got called back. I was like, all right, here we go
again.
He got touched twice, legitimately grabbed one of the times, and they still fired the gunshots in the end zone. I was like, stop! This is just so sad.
It's like he was clearly down, but while we're talking about the offense, let's just go ahead and get into the offense then. So the red team did lose to the white team 84-82 on a last second score. dropped touchdown. The offense not smooth looking, but I think you got to give the defense a little bit of credit there. Also, spring games always have choppy, bad offenses, I feel like. But I don't know. I don't feel like we saw anything revolutionary from Dylan Gabriel yesterday. I don't think we saw really anything groundbreaking from really anyone. No. Andrew Anthony was not what we thought he would be. I don't think. Obviously it's a spring game, but I don't know. Not a lot of flash in this one on the offense.
Yeah, whenever Andrew Anthony was running deep, Dylan Gabriel's accuracy was just pitiful too. Dylan Gabriel did not have a good game. He had 3 touchdowns, but none of them he had to work for. They were all wide open throws on all 3 of them. So you say 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. I wasn't, too happy with a veteran quarterback coming in and just needs to get his business done and leave out of the game early. So that's my thought process on that. But the defense played really well. So it's hard not to knock our offense without giving positive, cred to the defense. The defense was on track for 320 points halfway through the first quarter. Paceman told me.
Yeah. No, Ty, you got this.
No, I think I want to have a quick programming note, almost just me to the valued viewers and not to my other hosts. I want the viewers know they're screaming at their headphones or their screens right now as they're watching or listening and going, hey, this is exactly what they did a couple years ago. They said, no, Spencer Rattler, he's still the quarterback one. He just didn't care about the spring game. Can't read into it too much, And the other guy that, whatever his name is, Caleb, looked like he had a good game, but it's a spring game. You can't read into it that much. You can. So you can. And I think there was, on a more serious note, I think, like we talked about, there wasn't anything necessarily groundbreaking, but I feel like for a spring game, if you paid attention, there's actually a lot to learn maybe when it comes to this team going forward. I think we're kind of touching on the passing game right now. So I think one lesson I think that you can read from the spring game is we're looking really solid in the tight ends realm with Stogner and with the broken hand guy who can still catch
Blake
touchdowns.
Smith, the Texas A&M transfer. That was really impressive.
Yeah,
Clubby.
that's awesome. That's awesome. But I think we're looking kind of disappointing for now with just pure receivers. It seemed like so that kind of surprised me. Sort of the number of receivers we had out there, and then the overall play of all the receivers out there was just kind of surprising that it wasn't better.
Yeah, and I mean, we touched on it a bit last week, Ty, that, receivers are a point that we're a little nervous about, and it really showed to be primarily on Jackson Arnold's unit. The second unit, the depth just does not exist in the wide receiving core. Arnold didn't have a lot of great receivers to throw to. He looked a little stressed at times. I don't think his stat line is really indicative of his performance. But really, that to me is where it really became evidently clear that this wide receiving core is one, not great, and two, insanely thin.
Yeah, I'll say this though. The slot, I feel like we've got a pretty good room there.
True.
Drake Stoops, obviously so sure-handed, but Gavin Freeman looked good. Looked really good. Like, that dude is fast, and there's reasons he was in gimmick plays last year, kind of doing end-around jet sweeps and stuff like that. He got a touchdown today, this weekend. He looks like he could be a legitimate guy that can contribute throughout this season. This was a guy who was a preferred walk-on coming into his freshman year.
Yeah, Gavin Freeman was excellent. And, that one play he had really to put the red team in, scoring position for the win, that massive, just beautiful dart from Jackson Arnold to him was really, really impressive stuff. Freeman, yeah, you're right. That was definitely a shining point there.
He's great. My concern with him is I don't know if he's necessarily someone we can rely on as like a main carry the load guy. I think his niche is those sort of flashier things, and it was kind of alarming to me. This is one of the things I had in my notes, is how he was sort of being played as more of a carry the load kind of guy, because it was just a reliability thing, and I'm not necessarily sure how great of a plan of action that is to have a 5'7" guy out there, regardless of his skill and everything else, as one of your main receivers. Can be too difficult to get the ball to him a lot of times. So it is maybe a point of concern. Obviously, it's great. It's great for him. But I think reading into it and the team as a whole, another thing I saw that was kind of alarming to me, and it was being sold as a big positive for this team, was the amount of passes and I guess the pass action that the backs were getting. And the backs were fairly reliable. I think pretty reliable actually for backs when it came to receiving play. And that was worrisome to me, just how frequently we were sort of going to that. Obviously, maybe different offensive scheme, but the way I was reading into it, again, maybe being a little too pessimistic and reading into it too much, but I was reading into it a little bit of the backs are going to have to carry some of that load receiving wise as well, at least for now, because of weaknesses in the receiving core. So that's obviously something that could be concerning going down the line, where you have, not necessarily the deepest backfield to begin with guys having to carry the load running wise, and then also maybe having to carry the load for some of the receivers as well, can definitely be a concerning point for this offense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like Sawchuk did a pretty good job out of the backfield, receiving. He had 47 yards on a touchdown on 3 receptions. No receiver got more than 3. But I'll put it. I'll take it. Didn't have a great game on the ground himself. He had 7 rushes for
because nobody
yards.
did. The offensive line was atrocious. We have talk about depth, Ty. I mean, like, depth and offensive line showed, because we're missing 3 starters or whatever in this game, and our second unit offensive line, oh my God, it was pitiful. There were no holes at all for any of the running backs. I wanted Bobby to look at Gavin Sawchuk and say, like, wow, that was a really good game, but he just didn't get anything past the first level of the defense. So that's why they were throwing the ball to the running back so much, because they had to get around the offensive line and try to go make plays outside the numbers. That was the only reason I can guarantee you saw as many of those plays, Ty.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, another point, and not to dive too pessimistically into stuff. I do think a little positive, perhaps, note to put on the side. I do think running generally suffers in a spring game situation. That's one of those where it's like you do when you start to turn down the dial on aggressiveness and on how hard they're going at people. The running game does suffer there a little bit, I'm sure, but yeah, it's the line was, I think, a worrisome point. And this is going to dive. I don't know if it's the elephant in the room for everyone, but we don't want to make it the whole podcast. But that is naturally going to progress into the quarterback discussion. I mean, that's the linchpin of the entire offense, and we're sort of leading into perhaps some good talking points and saying receiving core questionable, not definitely. I think for now a step back from what we had last year, which is concerning, but they were good last year. Backs, don't really know, but like we said, they're very line dependent, and it was a spring game. I think we made some gains in tight end, but then we go to quarterback. We have a quarterback who, all joking aside, has been known to struggle sometimes in pressure situations.
Oh yeah,
and also in receivers that are not, trying to think of without. It struggles also without a super quality receiver who also happens to be just completely wide open. So it is, I think there's a lot of points of concern on this offense.
Yeah, you need Jalil Farouk to step up this season is really what it is. You need an outside wide receiver to be a dominant force. We cannot have a wide receiver by committee. You can always say like, oh, it's next man up and all this coach speak. But in actuality, you need a force wide receiver to attract the cornerbacks and bring the safeties over, saying like, I am tired of this guy catching everything and burning the first level. I need to start looking at him more, and it opens up so much more in the passing game. If you just have the same skill set on both sides of the field of your wide receivers, you're not going to get that. And the way our safeties played this game made our wide receivers look poor because our safeties were our best position group on the whole field. So yeah, they were struggling, but it's really going to all put down to Jalil Farouk, because I don't know if there's another ex wide receiver that's kind of got the potential that he has to be a WR1.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Farouk didn't really have that leap we kind of thought he would last year, but I think he can be a big point here. I did want to mention in the comments, Michael is bringing up Texas's Brennan Thompson. Didn't know if we wanted to do a full-on Cruton corner or not, but I think that would be a pretty solid addition to the roster. Apparently, he was doing like pregame radio with the franchise. So I'm saying, like, look, if you're doing radio with the team you're recruiting to's, flagship station, that's pretty good.
He was one of those things where it's like, as soon as he entered in the transfer portal, it's like OU's name was immediately thrown out. And that's one of those things where it's like, it was pretty much already kind of known that OU is his big time favorite. And that's why he's thinking about coming here. And I mean, this is a guy that we recruited also coming out of high school as well. And we were looking at him, and he ended up going to Texas. So, I mean, he has some kind of affinity to Oklahoma. He's going to do is he might take another visit or so, but it's going to be one of those stunners if he were to go anywhere else.
Yeah, he would be a good addition.
Absolutely. Yeah, for speed. Yeah, we would need more. You can never have enough speed because, you can just put him in, and for a couple, even if he doesn't play that much, because he's going to be coming in a little bit late. He's going to be behind the curve in terms of trying to move up the depth chart. Put him in for a couple plays, the kind of same snap count that like LV Bunkley Shelton got last year, and just try to see if he can make a play or two.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. I think what I am kind of reading into on this offense is, again, it's sort of something that we touched on earlier, but tight end play potentially significantly improving. Obviously, we had done our pregame predictions, and
I think there's an argument there, Ty, about it improving or not. I don't know if that's.
So?
I don't think that everyone's going to agree with you on that one, because Braden Willis will be a huge loss for us. Austin Stogner is a great replacement, but after that, like, I think it's almost I'd say it's not an improvement. I'd say it's maybe just the same or maybe even a little bit less.
But I'll take the same, because I will twist it as I'm known to do, because you're taking where we were end of last season, so peak of development for Braden Willis is the start of this year for Stogner and the club man. So I don't know how many touchdowns he's going to have to catch before his name is deserving of being remembered, I guess. But
It's Blake Smith,
which makes it the easiest name.
It's like an auto-generated rookie in Madden or something,
So
Blake Smith.
I think having a pair of tight ends who both are reliable receivers are a tremendous add to this offense. Tight end position group as a whole, I think maybe they're both a little smaller, maybe not the best blockers and everything else. But really, I forgot where I was going. But yeah, I think tight ends have taken a step forward just based on the spring game. Again, it is the spring game. Who knows?
But we know you love Austin Stogner. You've got like a special relationship.
I remembered what it was. I think maybe hopefully there's a situation where we can almost get a sort of, this is a reach, I acknowledge this, but maybe a Mark Andrews at Baltimore situation where maybe your best receiver, maybe your reliable receiver is your tight end. And I think when it comes to being a receiver, we have a couple guys who could potentially fill that role of being much more of almost a receiver that kind of starts on the line versus a more traditional tight end.
Okay, I get that. I think Stogner
it's a conspiracy theory, but I'm digging for positives to say.
I think Stogner will have a really good year. I am with you on that, and I think I feel like his ceiling is higher than Willis's was last year. I'll give you that. Jameson is also right, though, with the death being shot. And even though Clubby did a really good job, which, by the way, I'm just saying, NIL deal, Clubby Seltzers, Blake Smith, if he keeps the club.
Just keep it no matter what, even if his hand heals. He just keeps the club.
Have it be the NIL version of putting the Fig Newton sign on your windshield, I can't see a thing, but I sure do love Fig Newtons.
You know what? There might be... God, he needs a good sport agent because I feel like no one has thought of a tremendous loophole. I feel like there might not be written in the rules that you can't have sponsors on a cast. I know you can't put your own sponsors on a uniform item, but I think maybe they may have forgotten cast, and maybe he can sell sponsorship space on his cast, which would be hilarious.
I just want him to write it like in Sharpie, like Clubby on it. And it's like, they're like, this is not an NIL. This is what I named my cast. His name is Clubby.
He's my friend. That's how I get through the games.
My friend Clubby signed my cast. Can I not let my friends sign my cast anymore? Is this what we're trying to take away from us in NCAA? Really?
National Communists Against Athletes trying to take away my Clubby sponsorship. It's good.
But like the over like winning theme of the offense is, it did okay, but there's still a lot of things for it to improve on. And I think that the offense is probably going to take a step back in terms of what we were last year. And when it comes down to improving this season, obviously there's a lot of room to improve on the defense side of the ball. And it kind of needs to be the room that might be almost better than our offense, which is super weird to say. In the spring game, they should have scored hundreds of points, but the damn scoreboard operator was being too nice and made the game close, and it was all a conspiracy. So many points left off. I'm mad about it because they played so good. Like, the defense was great. Sean McCullough, freak. I don't know if he's going to start over Justin Harrington because he's still trying to figure out all the ins and outs of that position at Cheetah. But, man, he made some wow plays. Like, in him running out there, he's long. Like, he looks like a freak compared to everyone else.
Oh, my God. McCullough was a huge breath of fresh air on that defense. The effort, the intensity, swarming to the football like that. And, I mean, the guy is just a physical freak, I seeing him up close, the wingspan. He looked like for those Thunder OU fans, he looked like a Sam Presti guy, with the wingspan, the athleticism. He was incredibly exciting to watch. Definitely, a lot of the newcomers thrilling, but for me, he was the guy who absolutely stuck out in my mind. That is exactly the type of player you need in this defense. I'm thrilled to watch more of him. What a massive win in the transfer portal. And I don't feel like that's an overreaction because I feel like that transfers. It absolutely transfers to a real game.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's going to be even better once you can go full speed, once it can hit players and properly. So,
yeah, I think
having those freak guys is what sets you over the edge too, Bobby.
Oh, absolutely. Ty, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I think hopefully the defense truly has taken a step forward. I know the offense as a whole, in terms of Oklahoma standards, was not good last year, but I would take an offensive slide backwards a little bit if it meant a fairly significant. So maybe not a step forwards, but maybe an iteration. Not expecting an exponential leap, but maybe an iteration forward of this defense, because I think that's the key really to this Oklahoma team, and that's something that maybe we as OU fans have to learn. Is we're not looking at the flashy offense dragging us through stuff anymore. We're looking at sort of building a program and a defensive focused team primarily to get us forward. So that is something to remember. And I think hopefully we saw some good signs of that here in this game. I think the defense did dial it back, whether that was coordinated or not. I don't know. Not to be a conspiracy theorist, but they wanted to be a good show. And I
think they were tanking. You think the defense started tanking halfway through?
I don't think they were tanking, but I think maybe there was a deliberate decision to dial it back, play calling and performance wise. I think there was. But many people.
I think you were tricked because the scoreboard operator tricked you into think that they were dialing it back when actually they weren't.
No, they actively took points away from them too. Not just didn't count it. Like they had more points and then they took them away and then they stopped counting. But I think in summary of what I'm trying to say is we will be a significantly better football team. I'm talking winning a handful more games at least with the same offense or worse offense than we had last year. If we can put a defense on the field that the opposing team has to plan for, because all too often, especially with Oklahoma, the defense is constantly on the back foot, reacting to and planning for the opposing offense. And when you can put a defense on the field that the offense now has to say, oh no, like this guy's out there, we got to, you hear about it with all these big stars in the NFL sometimes, is you see a guy line up in a certain position and then the quarterback has to go, okay, we can't run this play anymore, we got to call it. If we can create that situation with the personnel that we have, particularly when you're talking about getting the flashier guys, that's going to be huge. And then if we can do that as a defensive unit as a whole, that will be the key to us winning a lot more games.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I fully agree. And I kind of want to bring in some conversations about some of the other transfers we had coming in. I felt like Rondell Bothroyd looked pretty solid, did some good job filling space. That D-line is much improved.
I have a quick note on him, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Absolute tragedy that he transferred from Wake Forest to Oklahoma, because Rondell Bothroyd is just such a Wake Forest name. It does not fit Oklahoma at all, unfortunately. So with his Wake Forest Hogwartsy name, doesn't fit in on the prairie. So
Jameson's
we're glad to have him, though. But yeah,
Jameson, you're muted.
Oh my! I've never done that like in the history of Schooner Pod, talking on mute, and I've held myself really, and like I felt very proud about that because y'all have done it many times. Bobby's done it hundreds of times.
Of course,
I've never done it, and that felt so weird. Oh my gosh, I hate myself for that.
You got.
But yeah, Rondell Bothroyd, that's too fancy for Oklahoma. Way too fancy. Blake Smith is Oklahoma. But Bothroyd is not like us. Yes, no, the defensive line is good as it could look in a spring game. It did. You're right, Bobby. It filled space and it created no gaps for the running attack, and it allowed our safeties to come down and make plays, make our linebackers look good. They made everyone else look good, and they got pressure on our quarterbacks. They took our quarterback outside the pocket a lot. there are a lot of times where they probably touched the quarterback, but they still didn't call him down.
Yeah. Our Mason Thomas was hanging out in the backfield the entire game.
That's just what he does.
Yeah. Oh, I felt like Jordan Kelly, the Notre Dame transfer, is pretty solid as well.
Jordan Kelly is not that's Jacob Lacey.
Ah, shoot. My bad.
No, it's good. It's good. But yeah, Jacob Lacey played good. I think Jordan Kelly played good too. The guy's been here forever. I was impressed by the defensive line. But you really can't do too much because you got to play kind of 80% speed whenever you're going pass rush, because if you're going in full force and you hit the quarterback, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. And it doesn't just hurt you, it hurts the offense. But the best position group by far for me, the one that if we're talking game balls of the whole game, and this guy might not have made the most stats, but just like the eye test, this dude looked like he's going to be a problem and a really good piece for us. The safety room and Reggie Pearson looked good, like really good. I love that fire that he has. When he has that nasty, he gets downhill and he likes to blow up plays. He goes for it. He turns his head to the ball. He had a great PBU in the end zone on that long, 5 or 6 play 4th and goal, whenever they kept giving the offense another chance over and over. Honestly, really impressed with him. And then we can always talk about the other new safety that we have in Peyton Bowen, who got the interception, looked like he is just a pure athlete, turning his head to the ball in a deep route. When was the last time you seen that from an OU DB?
It was beautiful. That Bowen interception was, so good. He absolutely worked Andrell Anthony on that. It was, the instincts from a freshman, crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say Reggie Pearson stats actually did back it up. Again, spring game, but 7 tackles with 1 for loss. So that's a really solid stat line to be presenting. And then obviously, if you're going to go and present an interception, which was I think maybe the first. It wasn't the first pass caught in the game, but an interception against the starting quarterback as a true freshman in the spring game. That is a great way to really introduce yourself to the fan base, especially with this packed house and everything else, which we didn't touch on yet. So I guess we got to leave that for the end.
Dude, it's I was just so happy just seeing you got Billy Bowman, Key Lawrence, Peyton Bowen, and Reggie Pearson all at safety. Those are 4 guys that even, Peyton Bowen is a true freshman. I don't want to overreact too much. Those are 4 guys that I'm feeling really damn good if they were playing, as the starters coming out of the tunnel whenever we go against Arkansas State. That is a great, great unit. Cornerback, it makes you think, could Key Lawrence try to go back to cornerback again? I know there's some struggles after his 1 couple or 2 couple good games. But there's an opening on the other cornerback. Woody Washington's going to be cornerback 1. Gentry Williams didn't play because they're kind of easing him back in from whenever he passed out. But safety is going to be a crowded room. We've got a lot of pieces there. Maybe, just maybe, Key Lawrence can move over again, because I still think Key Lawrence had a good game on Saturday as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, he wasn't. Yeah, Key Lawrence was pretty solid. He was Key Lawrence, who is just a very steady, solid force, which honestly, it's kind of wild Key Lawrence is still here. It feels like he's in a roster that's had so much turnover. It's kind of wild to still see him, which is good. I like Key Lawrence a lot. But man, that unit it's crazy how night and day it is with, addition, just adding in, a solid vet in Pearson, adding in a 5-star talent in Peyton Bowen. It's going to get scary back there. I'm fully excited about this.
Yeah, let me ask you guys, when is the last time that you felt this confident about an OU secondary going into a season?
I wouldn't say I'm still confident in the secondary itself. I still need
cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, but the safeties makes me really, really excited, to be honest. But it's hard to think, really, to tell you the truth. I feel like last year we were kind of feeling okay about the secondary as well, and they still had their problems. I feel like this is something that we've been talking about, where it's I think they're going to do good, and then we get to the season, there's still disappointments. There's a lot of returners in the secondary. Losing guys like Justin Broyle, some people think may help. That was a really big leader on our team, and that's going to be a loss. But this team's going to have a lot of good playmakers, and if Gentry Williams does get healthy and back in shape, and his cornerback too, talk about athletes on this defense. Like, that dude is a pure athlete. That's another 5-star kind of talent that we could have. Billy Bowman was almost a 5-star. Gentry Williams used to be a 5-star, but got bumped down just a little bit. Peyton Bones, 5-star. That's a lot of talent in the DB room.
Yeah,
Keelan also a high-end 4-star too.
Yeah, I mean it's stacked, and I will say, Ty, sadly, the answer to your question was 2018 when I was, 2018, or the first year of this podcast, where I was very excited about the addition of one Brendan Buki Radley Hiles. I thought he was
freshman of the year.
And I was going to win new freshman of the year. I was so excited. He's like, he's going to change everything. He's going to the secondary is going to change. We have Parnell Motley and
I love Parnell.
Motley was good. Don't get me wrong, but I thought Buki was going to be the thing that changed everything.
Yeah,
that shows my that shows my ability to evaluate talent.
That's true. I was just going to say there are certainly some interesting takes throughout the history of the Schooner Pod, actually. But
there's plenty. I've been wrong about a lot of things, and it would take the receipts some digging to find some of my bad takes, but they're there. If you ever got some hate towards me and think that I'm not doing the best, you can go and listen to some old stuff. I probably have said some bad things. First thing that comes to mind is how much I was out on Caleb Williams starting over Spencer Rattler. I think I stuck with Spencer Rattler for the longest I could. It was such a bad take.
I feel like most rational people were that way, though.
I feel like though it's also a case of that short-term gratification for the long-term suffering is we took the turn our backs on Spencer Rattler pill to get Caleb Williams, and that got us a marginally better performance throughout a season where our coach was going to leave us and take Caleb anyways. And then we ended up suffering long-term because we pushed away Rattler, who would have helped us win at least 2 more games last year, I will say. So it's yet to be seen.
That's true.
There's some people would argue with that, but I agree. I think Spencer Rattler obviously would help this team.
Yeah, this is a sad state of affairs.
You think?
I don't know how this is getting into our spring game conversation. But here we are.
But it's an important point because the time of quarterback woes is over. Jackson Arnold, I think, firmly demonstrated that if he's not taking the job this year, I'm not going to dive into what I firmly believe he should, but if he's not taking the job this year, I think we've seen that he has cemented a position here, which is important for a quarterback because then they won't bail to the portal. And I think we have a brighter future ahead of us at quarterback. Obviously, reading into just one spring game is a bit of a reach, but the confidence size of a true freshman, I think, is huge at quarterback, and a lot of other stuff in there. I think there's a lot of positives.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I don't think he's ready just yet, but I think next year he's a type of guy I think could win a Heisman. I think he's that good. I was very excited about Jackson Arnold.
All right.
Very impressed with him.
Jackson Arnold, we have now jinxed him.
Oh. Hey, I said that Caleb Williams is going to win a Heisman, and it did happen, just in the worst way possible.
The thing is, comparing Caleb Williams' spring game with Jackson Arnold's spring game, because a lot of people are going to make these kind of talking points. Caleb Williams' spring game, the way he played was just every play was wow, this kid is good. Really good. Jackson Arnold had plays where I said, wow, this kid is good. This touchdown pass to Gavin Freeman. But then he had some plays where it's yeah, he still has got some work to do. The pressure obviously was in his face because his offensive line was trash. But you can tell he still had a lot to fix with his pressure. There were a couple throws that I thought were a little bit errant. He put in a couple of dangerous spots I didn't like. Got a lot of balls batted down at the offensive line. There's still some things where it's I don't think he wowed me so much to the point where it's man, this guy is by far, no doubt in my mind, could come in and just absolutely destroy at any time, like Caleb Williams did.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think that's where they're off, where they're different. I see that you see the talent, you see that ability, that just, star vibe. It just emanates from him at times, but he's not ready. He doesn't have the polish yet.
I do think it is important to note, again, spring game to spring game, Caleb Williams had a literal NFL line. Jackson Arnold definitely did not.
Yes.
And I think there's only one person on that Caleb Williams line that isn't in the NFL or in the draft this year. And I think that person probably will be, if I am remembering right. And then also, I think he had some NFL receivers that he was throwing to as well. So maybe a little bit different scenario there. But
Sure.
I don't think it's not a Caleb Williams spring game situation. But I think there is, not to dive into, again, the bits about who should be quarterback one, but I think if Gabriel is injured or has a suspension or, who knows what. And
suspension. I can't even imagine.
I don't know. Anything's possible. I would love it. I would get on the Gabriel train if he,
want to see that dog
accosted an opposing player. Yeah. I don't think we're not in a Davis Bevell situation if we have to put our backup in. Is he ready to be quarterback one? Up for debate. I think Bobby and I are on different sides of that debate, but in order to keep it, sane for the podcast, I think at a minimum, we are not in a bad way if we have to play what is presumably, as of now, our backup.
I'll say this. I saw General Booty whenever they were throwing, practice balls with the quarterbacks, they'd throw in back and forth with each other, just warming up. General Booty threw one to the quarterback that was over his head. And it was just practicing on the sidelines. I go, oh no, General. Oh, this is not good. Maybe the April Fool's thing should actually be.
You know what? It's
because he's not good.
It's because he's smart. He's like an AI, right? If you train an AI,
are they?
You see it. So General Booty is sitting on the sideline and he's saying, what does Dylan Gabriel do? He overthrows, he underthrows. So he goes, what gets me the starting job? What do I need to do? I need to just have terrible accuracy. So that when he goes out there at practice and stuff and the coaches are watching, what does he do? He does what he sees on the field. Mm-hmm. And they're giving him the wrong data set is all that it is. They need to show him someone completing passes, and then he might do that.
Yeah, I get that. That he's leading by example. Gabriel's leading by example the wrong way. Everyone's just falling in line with him, just yeeting balls over everyone. That's funny.
General Booty needs to go to the film room, and they're like, yeah, this is last week's game, and he's watching Sam Bradford highlights.
There you go.
In college.
You wouldn't know.
Sam Bradford. Yeah.
Hey, Sam Bradford still got that bag in the pros. Doesn't even matter.
He is the king of getting bags. I tell you what. Didn't show up to the Heisman thing, but that's fine. Or at all.
He showed up. He showed up to the Heisman ceremony thing the night before.
Yeah.
At the reveal. So that was awesome.
He's maybe just shy.
Yes. I mean, he's low key. Not everyone can be OU quarterback on commercials, every single commercial break that you see, like Jason White. Jason White jean check, since we're talking about this, he was wearing jeans the spring game. They were still a little bit baggy in the foot. Not nearly as bad as the infamous picture, but they still were a little bit, baggy down there.
He was wearing the boot cuts with Nike shoes, I'm guessing.
Pretty sure they were taking a little bit. I don't think they were dragging on the floor, but they were pretty close.
Tough look. I gotta say also, we've talked about it a little bit. I think just looking at the new guys we've got in physically, a lot of these guys just look so much bigger than what we had before. Even looking at Phil Picotti, that dude is a unit. Looking at PJ Adebawore, next level type of guy. I think that's pretty exciting. That was one of my biggest takeaways from all of it.
Whenever you're talking about that, I did not expect you to hit me with that. We just got some bigger guys than you guys. Phil Picciotti. I'm like, whoa, that was not the name I was waiting to hear first. I knew PJ was coming, but I didn't know Phil Picciotti was going to go first.
He was big, man. It was wild. I was like, dude, look at Phil. It's crazy. Look at him go. But no, Adebawore, man, that is a game changer. He is really something to see up close, man. But anyways, do we want to do do we even need to do game balls? I feel like we kind of
I want to give mine to Reggie Pearson because
we should do
bandwagon. I want people to know, like, I'm going to be like, that is going to be my favorite player on this team. I'm going to be cheering for him the most out of anyone on this team. I love the way he plays.
Let's do one per side. So who's the other side of the ball then, Jameson?
Okay. How about this? I don't think this is the guy. Like, I would give it to Gavin Freeman, but I would give it to a guy we haven't talked about yet, just because I want to spice it up. And I liked Dalen Smothers the most at running back out of this whole weekend. I think he had the best run. I felt like he had the spark where he could kind of be a change of pace guy that we could get in. I understand that Caleb Hicks was ahead of him in terms of getting the ball for the red team. But I like the way Dalen Smothers played, and he's coming off, like a little bit of a break from football from injury. But before that, in North Carolina, people thought this guy was special. He just got stunted a little bit. I think he's got a lot of moves. I liked what he did. He showed me some things that he might get some snaps during the year. Not the best player, but I wanted to give some praise to him. So I'll go ahead and just give it to Dalen Smothers.
Yeah, I'll do mine just real quick. I think, to me, a spring game is all about irrational hype, the guys that get you the most fired up. And to me, Peyton Bowen being at OU and seeing that one play, because he was good for the game overall, but that one play where that interception was just perfect. It was it was just so good to see. Really smart, sharp, competent safety play. And it just, I keep replaying it in my head, it's just wonderful. I love it. And Peyton Bowen to me got me the most excited on defense of anyone, just with their play, with that play in particular. So I'm going to give my game ball to Peyton Bowen. On the offensive end, I'm going to give it to, I'm going to give it to Gavin Sawchuk. I liked what he was able to, out of the backfield. Yeah, it wasn't great, but his versatility, his ability to make plays out of the backfield with the receiving, I thought that was exciting. He kind of carried that over from the Cheez-It Bowl, and I don't know. I was very impressed with him.
All right. Yeah, so I think I will admit, originally, I was just going to go chalk with Bobby, vote down the same line that he did. I will be changing one of mine. But yeah, I think my theme, I had a theme for how I was doing the game balls. I was going to go with introductions. So, of course, had to go with Peyton Bowen with that interception like we talked about during the pod a little bit earlier. What a way to introduce yourself to the fan base and say, hey, I'm here. I understand the situation has been crazy, but I mean, this is romanticizing it way too much, right? But this OU team is a house on fire, and that interception, having a defender come in and do an interception like that in the spring game, and this is just an absurd romanticization of what occurred. But he was the fireman coming into the house, and he's like, you know what? I'm here. I brought a hose and a truck. And whatever else they bring.
Going on?
And he's like, you know what? The situation is in hand. The fire department is here.
Don't worry, ma'am.
I don't know where I was going.
You thought that was gonna connect as you continue to talk.
No, I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't, but I had already committed. I committed to it a second ago. But yeah, look, it's a burning house. He showed up. He said, you know what? I'm here. The situation is well in hand. We're going to handle this. So that was a positive. Offensively, I was going to go with Sawchuk. It was more of an optimistic, maybe an investment. I was giving it to him because I was hoping that he could continue to improve upon his performance. But I don't know. Bobby picked Sawchuk, so I got to go with the we got to default back to the character. So I'm going Jackson Arnold, QB1. He is QB1. I can
Oh Lord.
cut the political correctness now that we're towards the end of the pod.
Ooh, don't talk
He's
politics.
the QB. He's the QB1. There's no reason to have any of the other quarterbacks out there. If we're not going to put Jackson Arnold out there behind quarterback, we might as well run the Wildcat, which didn't fail last year. We can continue to dive into that argument again, but I think he could be our starter this year. I think if he's not, I don't know, might take a OU gets shut out again in Red River future if we have the turnover machine back there. But
I can't
give
imagine.
me Jackson Arnold, QB1. I'll give him my game ball. He should have been 9 for 14. There was a conspiracy telling the receivers to drop his passes. Not the game-winning one because the defense was screwed. That shouldn't have been a game-winning situation to begin with. But yeah, I like Jackson Arnold. So turn the character off. I think I'll still give Jackson Arnold the game ball because I think for the next 3 years, or maybe not this year, but the year after and the year after, I think our quarterback situation, if he remains with us, will be well in hand. So I like Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, I thought Arnold was impressive, was exciting, and that even though the run didn't count, also the spring game as a whole doesn't count, and that was fun. So
No, it's always
I
fun
like
having like a new shiny toy, especially at quarterback coming in. Like it's really exciting to see for the future.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of new shiny things, Kyler Murray got his statue unveiled. What?
That is just prime podcasting right there.
No,
Beautiful.
that was amazing. That was really good.
When I see a segue like that just naturally occur, you got to throw it down. You got to take it. I had to take it. Kyler's statue gets unveiled. Last year with Baker's, it looked a little wonky.
Woof.
Looked a little bit better when they installed it. Kyler's, though, what was y'all's first reaction? How are we feeling about the new Kyler statue?
Yeah, first reactions on video because whenever I see it in person, it's obviously been unveiled. I guess that's a replica though that they unveil. So the first time seeing the real statue, we were walking together, Bobby, and from a far distance, let me tell you something. This is my first impression. There's is his little like what towel that's in his waistband, and it's pointed kind of diagonal in his crotch area, and from afar it does not look good. It looks a little sus from afar, and I'm like, but whenever you get close, I'm like, okay, that does not look like a wiener. And I don't know, maybe that's just because I had 6 hot dogs in my mouth earlier, like maybe just before. I was just thinking everything was wieners. So that actually might make more sense. I need to go back with sober eyes next time, not drunk off the wiener. But I think it looks really good. It just looks a little awkward the way he's throwing the ball. I don't think it looks too like realistic in terms of like footwork and how you'd actually mechanically throw.
He did have that weird throw where he cocked it way back. No wordplay intended.
God.
But anyway, we'll talk about your hot dog eating contest in a bit.
All right, so here's my take on it. Have you guys ever been, and I'm posing this to the listeners too, a perfect example of this is Disney World. If anyone listening is familiar, if you're not, I encourage you to look it up. But Pandora, so the Avatar world at Disney World, they have these big floating mountains, and from the way that they design them, when you're inside the park, they very much do appear to be these floating rock forms, some with falling water and all with flora and fauna abundant on them, as is the case in the Avatar worlds. If you haven't seen Avatar, we're not going to go down because I'll just continue explaining things. But it's a force perspective, so it's obviously they're not floating mountains, and you see that a lot of good examples are at Disney with making their castles look bigger in the parks and everything else, and a lot of other architecture and sculptures and everything else. And when I looked at this statue and you look at the one that they unveiled and sort of some of the angles that were presented in the initial press releases, it's not a bad. I think it's good. I think it's a good one.
I'm happy with it.
Good. Yeah, I think it's a very good one overall. But a lot of the initial presentations were like, oh, this doesn't necessarily look like him that much. But then if you look at photographs that are taken from the angle of a person, so say that 5 to 6 foot where you're catching most people
Close
at
to
Heisman Park, and the perspective that they would be looking at this statue, it is very, very good. There are a couple, if you look up Kyler Murray statue and you look up, if you can't go see it in person, even on Google Images, there's a couple like group selfies or not selfies, but group pictures and stuff under the statue. And you see it from that perspective of someone walking through the Heisman Park or in line to go into the game or driving by on the road there. It is very, very, very good in terms of looking like him. Who knows about like throw mechanics and stuff, but I think they did a very good job. I think they captured him as a very dynamic player. And I think it's really good. I don't want to say, I don't know if it's the best. No, it's not the best one in OU's Heisman Park, but I think it's top half in terms of like how well the statue represents the player.
I think it's the second best one behind Billy. I don't think it's ever going to be possible.
Yeah, Billy Sims. Billy Sims is the best one. I would have to go back and look at some of the older guys. Is why I was thinking.
Billy Vessels is cool because he has this like kind of old school helmet,
the leather hat.
Yeah. Like Vessels has a nice one. I think the Selman brothers is pretty solid. I don't know if you can really fully count that one, but. I think it's, to me, the second best one, just in terms of the uniqueness of the pose, how it kind of in a way invokes baseball as well, just kind of given how far his arms back. I don't know. I like it a lot. I think it's a solid one. And to me, I just recency bias induced, but it's the second best one to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it. It was pretty good. But yeah, Baker's is the worst. I think we can agree with that.
Bradford still isn't very
the worst, good. Actually.
Bradford looks like him though, kind of. Like the Baker's does not, and the whole thing with his headband making him look like Peyton Manning's forehead for a little bit, and then having them add the Nike swoosh on it. I don't know. It just looked a little off to me.
Yeah, that's fair. Baker's isn't very good. Apparently wanted the Fu Manchu on it, which is pretty funny.
Oh, come on. That would have been so cool. What are they doing? They dropped the ball.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad bag fumble there. But yeah, Kyler also said some things. Nothing was really interesting except for him taking a little dig at Texas A&M. That was fun. Brent Venables took a dig at, I guess, college football as a whole during his speech, which he did again.
Took like 30 minutes to give us that speech.
Yes.
The long-windedness of Brent Venables is on full appearance, at the game. Yeah. Where it's like whenever all the alumni were locked hands, he goes, "Oh, I'm not done yet," and everyone was like, "Oh."
Well, it's a lot less fun. Go ahead, Ty. You got
it. We have to mention again every time we talk about Venables' long-windedness, we understand the hypocrisy. Okay, so just to clarify.
That's fair. I will say with Venables though, it's a lot less interesting when it's like, hey, I know things are bad, but we'll make sure things are going to be better, as opposed to last year where it's like, we're gonna blah, 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 we're gonna be the best, and it was a little more uplifting, a little more exciting. It's a lot less exciting when you're doing damage control because you went 6-7. So
yeah.
But his comment of what is it? People who are, if you don't think, or the programs that don't think spring game attendance count, don't have relevant programs or something to that effect, or their programs don't matter, or it's the spring game. If you think spring game attendance doesn't matter, you don't have a program that matters. Which the amount of people in the comments on that one coming for his head, a little spicy there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, good. Do it. Who cares what
Yeah.
other fans think? Who
yeah.
cares what the comments
True.
think? Like, bump up, the kind of pride of being an OU fan. That's what you need to do right now. Get to the roots of what make people proud to be an OU fan. That's what he does. He doesn't care what other schools and programs think of him.
Oh yeah, I don't care. I don't think it matters.
I do, yeah. And it's, spring game attendance. I think his quote, when you actually look at his quotes, is perhaps a bit more targeted than it is general. But I don't think it's targeted necessarily too specifically, if that makes sense. But I do have to mention, when it comes to spring games, this was a good year for spring games, period, in college football. And I'm not just talking about the Colorado Deion Sanders selling out their spring game, which looked absolutely electric. Again, their stadium only seats, I think, 30-something thousands. But that spring game atmosphere looked electric. But college football as a whole, I mean, I think there were, to date, I think there were maybe 6 schools, if I was reading right, that outsold Oklahoma. Bama had a very big spring game attendance for Bama. So I don't know why, but they generally don't have the spring game attendance that they had this year. So something is cooking over in Birmingham, or wherever the University of Alabama is located.
Go Blazers!
I know it's not in Mobile, so it must be in Birmingham, the 2 states or the 2 cities within Alabama. But yeah, I do have to mention, there was a school significantly, by over 10,000 people, outsold us in their spring game. They had 11 wins last year.
Was Nebraska one of them?
And I actually don't think Nebraska outsold us. I think Nebraska was very high, but below us. But I don't know. Fact check me on that. But there was a school outdid us on spring games. Venables has established the standard that spring games matter. Had 11 wins last year. Is in the SEC. Is producing Heisman candidates. Is relevant nationally. And is coached by an OU alum. Would this OU team be better had we kept Josh Heupel? I think we should do another hour on the Schooner Pod, so I can touch on why OU with Josh Heupel would at least won the Big 12 last year. So again, we took the Lincoln Riley pill. Did it help us? Did it ultimately help us? I don't know. Maybe we should have stuck with Josh Heupel. Wouldn't be stuck with 5-7 Brent Venables or whatever he is.
Let me tell you something. Josh Heupel, at that point in his coaching career, I wanted to rip my head off with some of his play calling. So, yes, he is evolutionized, like the way he coaches. He's gotten a lot better. But back in the day at OU, let's not just think that the Josh Heupel of today is the Josh Heupel of OU, because that's not the case.
Yeah, he kind of needed to get fired to get better too. So
yes, he needed that. Yeah. He needed that because he was too complacent. He was doing the same thing over and over. Legitimately had no innovation in his offense. That stupid bubble screen was about 50% of his play call. It was unbelievable. I was about to just that really got me angry. And it sucks. It sucks that we have now a negative relationship with him. And like Brent Venables, like there's still respect, even though we kind of bullied him out. Similar situation. He always said like his dream job would be coming back to OU. I don't think Josh Heupel even wants to show up to any of our alumni stuff anymore for the rest of his time, because I feel like he's just, and maybe that just might be personality. It just seems like Brent Venables is a man of character that probably wouldn't hold something against you and have a grudge. Josh Heupel's a grudge type of guy.
He showed up to Roy Williams's Hall of Fame thing, I think. Because I did see a picture of him.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, he did show up to that. So that's
he has beef with Stoops, I think, because Stoops fired him, but Brent wasn't even around then. So. Anyways,
I guess that's fair.
Other spring game attendances, by the way, just in case you wanted to know, Tennessee ahead of OU finished 6th. Ahead of them, Tennessee, as Ty mentioned, with 58,000. So OU just 4,000 shy of that.
Okay,
then Alabama,
not 10,000.
Yeah. Alabama at 4. Nebraska finished at 3 with 66,000 for Matt Rule's debut. Penn State number 2 at 68, and number 1. You want to take a guess?
Ohio State.
the Ohio State Buckeyes with 75,000, which is pretty crazy. So, it happens. Just having an environment, which I thought was a good environment, despite the weather, being pretty crap. Obviously, the team last year wasn't great. The momentum, the excitement from last year wasn't quite there. Did have a dip, but you know what? It was still a good environment. Compare it to, some of those games where we saw where you had to put on Lee Bryce or whoever, and then sometimes people would show up, sometimes they wouldn't. The honky-tonk, badonka-donk. The spring game culture has improved here. We're doing better. So it's good. It was good.
I will say this though, Bobby. It does concern me if we don't make a big step this year and we have kind of another just mediocre season. We might not, go 6-7, but if we don't wow and we kind of go under what our expectations are next year, what do we have to get people to come to the spring game? It's not going to be freshman quarterback Jackson Arnold. People were excited to see him play for the first time. Kyler Murray statue, I'm sure that brought some people that were on the fence who didn't want to come, ended up coming. This is a big season. If you're talking about spring games, I don't know what they will do next year to get people excited to come rather than just the game itself and fandom, because we don't have any other statues to give out at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who?
Jackson
Who?
Arnold, perhaps, could win.
Immediately put a Heisman statue of him on after he wins at his freshman year.
We're talking emergency situation.
We need a new park that's like highest paid in their position park, and we could make a little Orlando Brown statue. Could make a little Jalen Hurts statue. We'd
have to do retroactive because we have to recognize Gerald McCoy.
Well, I did just think.
Well, no. What you do is whenever they lose their position, you tear them down. Like it's like there's been like a dictator overthrown.
Yeah, OU does have a history of putting up statues of people in power here that are actually still in office. Cough, cough. David Bourne had multiple statues up of himself.
Let's go.
Even whenever he was still the president, that was just so stupid. Who puts up statues of yourself in campuses where you're still the president? That's like supposed to be like something where you're like immortalize yourself after you retire. That's just unbelievably stupid. Don't get me started on that subject.
Nick Saban has had like has had a statue for like 10 years. By the way,
different.
I know.
Okay, yeah. Nick Saban deserves it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
What did David Bourne do to deserve to put his own statue on campus?
I mean,
even though he is still in office.
He's not still in office, but
he was. But like whenever it was there, like
David Bourne deserves, and this is not a joke, but if you can get away with just so blatantly committing fraud at the level that he did, without repercussions, I'll give you a statue because some of the stuff that they pulled with those dorms and the stuff they said to investors is it's crazy. Anyway,
yeah, no, the couch dorms or whatever the hell they are. What did they call the new ones? I'm not talking about the fake hog. I'm not talking about fake hog.
Not the residential colleges. Yeah. So Too Long didn't read for those unfamiliar, so you don't have to Google it. There was just a lot of stuff that was blatantly misrepresented to investors. So they ran a bunch of surveys. And two big bullet points. They told investors that freshmen will live in these dorms, that they just straight up said that freshmen couldn't live in for the longest time. And then they said that they had a certain building design that was predicated on not having kitchens in the rooms. And then they said that the students overwhelmingly said that they did not want a kitchen in their room. And then they had survey data that said that the number one thing for someone to continue to live on campus was, I would really like to have a kitchen in my room because every apartment offers me a kitchen that is just mine and not communal, one for every. When I lived in Couch, I think it was one for every 3 floors or something. We had one communal kitchen for every 3 floors. So yeah, there was a lot of just overt blatant lying. But anyways, we're deep in the weeds on this.
Yeah, that's right. I forget that there was kitchens on the dorm.
There was a kitchen fraud. There was a freshman fraud. There's a couple different.
The kitchen at the old Couch. Yeah, that's where y'all whipped up the chili that one time. Yeah, it was good times. Oh man, I'm so close to wanting to go into the weeds about Adam's Tower about to get torn down, but I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, Adams Tower, I walked by it, and one of the windows is just on the top floor is just busted out. Like
Oh.
it's just like there's just a giant, just like it looks like someone like threw a rock through it or something like that. It
So
looks really
sad.
sad. But RIP. But talking about chili, you know what chili can go on? Hot dogs, right?
Yes, Jameson.
So I was trying to figure out a transition, but it's not.
was good.
That is a good
was good.
transition.
That was good. We're doing better. We're working on our off-season work too. Yeah, Jameson, your hot dog eating contest. You didn't take home the little tiny trophy, but give us a rundown. Tell us how it went. In case you didn't see the video, and it's actually still up on our YouTube channel. You can give it a watch there to see for yourself. But Jameson, I want to hear your firsthand experience now that you've had time to quite literally digest everything.
Yeah, the poop this morning was nice.
I need to hear that part.
Come on, bro.
I feel like you have like a
come on.
Randy Marsh level, hot. Anyways,
Hey,
go for it.
everybody poops, but no, it was that was tough. It was so tough. If you think hot dog eating competition, you think like, oh, the ballpark dogs, I can take those down in 3 bites just to begin with, and that's not the case. Those buns, they were thick and bready, and those wieners, man, Schwab's wieners are so dense, like it had the consistency of like eating like sausage links. It wasn't like tough skin like the sausage links, but that's what like it felt like. And it just really like mechanically, I was at the point where I was like, I probably have more room on my stomach. I just don't know how much more I can take down just because I'm just my esophagus is just taken, like all the smooth muscle has done everything that it can. It was very, very hard. I only got 6. Winner got 7. So I was 1 away. But if I had to eat another hot dog during that competition, I would have just thrown everything up.
I'll say this: our listeners and commenters said that you're the best pound for pound because you were bested by what I believe Bowden Blake referred to as a hoss, who just strolled up, ate 7 dogs, and left.
And a Coors Banquet hat, and he's like, what, 6'6" monster man next to me. Dude was just like taking down hot dogs. I'll say this: a lot of my competitors, I was a little nervous at the beginning. There's like a lot of people that last second came in. They didn't make the application and write a paragraph like I did. So screw that. Kind of pissed off about that.
It did seem, Jameson, perhaps like they had 4, I think, slots originally that they were trying to fill, and that there were only 2 people that even applied. Because it did seem like there were only 2 of you guys.
They had filled 8, and the problem is they didn't have everyone show up.
Oh, people didn't.
I think like 4 of the people showed. So they just start pulling people. This random guy who was like the oldest one there, but he's like in his 40s. He was really, really just crazy talking at the beginning. He's like, I'm just so excited. I ate breakfast this morning, but man, I'm just gonna pound some hot. And he was talking. I was like, dang, I'm getting intimidated. And like all these guys coming in that were much bigger than me. This guy's biceps were the size of both of my legs combined. Like it was like not looking too good for me. And I realized all they did is they sprinted and they were done within 3 minutes. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. I knew I was gonna pace myself. I knew that I don't have, the ability to just do it really fast and be able to do that for 10 minutes consistently. I'm not a professional eater. So I just kind of tugged away at it and I slowly continued to get down. I finished my plate of 6 hot dogs. So I'm proud of what I did. I wish I would have won for all y'all listening, but at least I didn't get blown out.
What order did you place? Do you know?
I was tied for 2nd.
Oh, that's really good then, because the guy that won was just like a last minute. All right, so you were potentially, competing for again spring game. The theme of the spring game, the steal. People are colluding and stealing.
Yes,
these competitions.
Yes, man next to me did not write the application. I want that to be known. That's a Mickey Mouse championship he got.
Stop the steal.
Stop! Stop! They should stop the count.
Stop the count. Yeah, no, the Mickey Mouse championship. Oh my god.
Oh,
Next
I'm
year,
so glad I'm so glad I got to do it.
2024, Jameson will get it back.
Yeah, are you
Oh.
ever going to do another hot dog eating contest again, or are you
I-
riding off into the sunset?
I'm not with Schwab's, I won't. But if it was different
Hey.
kinds of hot dogs, I'd be interested.
Don't alienate any potential sponsors. For the
I
record,
think
Schwab's,
it was a strategy thing, really.
Schwab's are fine dogs. They're just not for speed. They're for sitting down
They're
and
for
just
enjoying.
really enjoying.
I
Like,
will
they're
say,
not-
did you watch the tape, Jameson?
Yes, I did. I did today. And
Did
it
you
was
watch the
painful
tape back and
watching.
pay attention to not you? Because the dude
No,
next to you, the dude next to you in the like burn orange, he was not like struggling at any point. Like he was just snacking. Like I'm like 99%. The guy who won, I'm pretty sure he was just like free food. Yeah, because like at no point everyone else was like rushing. He was like looking around, like just chewing away. Like if you go rewatch the tape, that dude that won was just, I mean, a freak of nature when it comes to guzzling glizzies, because he did not have. I think had he rushed, he could have doubled his stats easy.
Because like if Jameson got that 7th, then he was like, "Oh wait, okay, I guess I gotta eat another dog. All right." Put in a
No,
little
he
mustard on
stopped.
this.
He stopped at one point. He finished his plate and it was just kind of chilling. And the other plate was like in front of him, and he was just like chilling. And then he was like, "Oh, I guess I'll eat these," and like pulled them over. He legit took a 30-second pause, easy.
He was just chilling, man. He finished his stuff. It was good. Oh, it's funny. It's good stuff.
I guess I need to go watch my. I got followed actually by one of the guys that was in the competition that was next to me, on Twitter, and because he found the Schooner Pods tweet. So look at that.
Nice.
gaining a follower for the Schooner Pod, due to my efforts in the hot dog eating competition.
Ooh, love to see it. The positive PR, it worked. The sticker, it went far. So love to see it.
Yes,
All
I'm
right.
not trying to alienate you, Schwabs, but your hot dogs are like, I don't think eating a hot dog is like a meal, but I think eating a Schwab hot dog for dinner is actually a meal.
It was a big dog. It was a big dog.
That's a compliment. That's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's like, not every car is for racing. Schwab just doesn't have racing dogs. They got the.
Yeah.
I will say no free ads, because we would like for them to pay for this ad, but Schwab, the Rolls Royce of hot dogs, the champagne of hot dogs. Perhaps. Some
Talking
are
about,
saying, many are
hey,
saying.
we need to talk about your hot dog ventures coming up this weekend, Ty. What would you like? Would you like us to go and get some Bar S dogs, support another
no.
local
I
business?
don't even know what that is.
Oh,
Bar
we're
S.
supporting Oklahoma.
Yeah, Bar S hot dogs. Those are the original hot dogs at the stadium back in the day.
Go down easy though. I'm not making you eat 9 Schwab hot dogs because that just ain't happening.
That would be
how
that's
about
cruel
we
and
get
unusual punishment. That'd
Bar S
be mean.
hot dogs for Saturday for
Yeah,
the 999 challenge at 3:00.
I'll have to go. I'll perhaps go to the store and see. Maybe provide my own, or maybe we'll use the funds. For such
BYOD,
things.
bring
But
your own dog.
Let me tell you
yeah,
something.
we still have some.
Schwab's probably pretty expensive dogs, but Bar S, no.
Those
An
are some
8-pack
cheap,
of those
cheap
is
glizzies.
nothing.
Oh yeah, no, that's like, yeah, that's some cheap dog right there. That's but yeah, no, 999 will be happening on the Burb over in Norman this Saturday at 3. So if you're hey, look, the Sooners just swept Texas for the first time this past week. So OU baseball's rolling. If y'all want to come watch Ty eat dogs, there you go. Just go sit out on a hill and watch Ty eat the dogs with us.
I don't think we will be live streaming it, but I will give an
It'll
update.
be too long.
We will be posting updated videos on our Twitter account like consistently throughout the game of it.
Yeah, we might have an Instagram live check-in with Ty.
Yes.
And give him a couple Q&As and see how he's doing.
We're very proud of you, Ty. You're going to do great.
I mean, you got 8, 7 or 8.
I got
Or
6
6?
hot dogs.
You got 6 in 10
10
minutes. 10
Yes.
minutes, yeah. And those were big. Those were, inflation affecting the dogs as well. So, we'll see.
Take some speed though, so
I'll
that's
be drinking some beers and eating some hot dogs with you, Ty. Just not 9 each.
I might get to. We'll see where we get with them. We'll see where we go. I might do an accidental 999, but we'll check it.
Bobby,
We'll see
you
how it
say that, and the 5th inning's gonna hit, and you're gonna go, oh,
oh God, that's funny. But all right, well, I think that is all we have for today. Anything you want to say before we?
We've effectively been done for like 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, we've just been chilling. The back half of this podcast is like just turning off like the recording and just talking, which I think is fun. That's a good pod.
That's what you like in a podcast.
Yeah.
I like it whenever I can just listen to some people like I feel like in the middle of their conversation. Whenever it gets too cut and dry and everything's in like little segments and that stuff, it gets boring. I kind of like the back and forth. I enjoy it, and we enjoy doing it too.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to 3 people pretending to be Mike Greenberg. That's not fun. Yeah.
Mike and Mike.
Greeny. Well, I mean, the other Mike is good, but I don't know.
R.I.P. Mike and Mike.
All right.
R.I.P. Mike Golick.
Good show. Now, those were 2 people who had beef with each other, from what I've understood.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As far as
let's not go down this rabbit hole. Let's probably cut it off for this hour and 15-minute long pod.
ESPN programming reflections. All right. For me, Jameson and Ty, this has been the Scooter Pod. We will see you next week where we'll talk about something. I don't know. Probably Ty eating 9 hot dogs.
That's probably all we're going to talk about.
Now, Cruton. We might have some Cruton news.
I can do a recruiting thing because we didn't talk about recruiting through the spring game and our recent commits, so we could do a recruiting update.
Yeah, because like some stuff happened, so there's that. So, all right, cool. Well, until next time, see y'all. Have a good one, and Boomer Sooner, everybody.